Civilization describes a complex way of life that came about as people began to develop networks of urban settlements. The earliest civilizations emerged between 4000 and 3000 BCE, when the development of trade and agriculture made it possible for people to have plenty of food and a stable economy. Guys, there is a small reminder. If this is the information you are really interested in, don't forget to subscribe for notifications in any newly uploaded video, and wait till the end of the video so that you don't miss any interesting facts. Now let's continue our discussion. Civilization. Civilizations first appeared in Mesopotamia and later in Egypt. By around 2500 BCE, China had a thriving civilization, while Central America had a civilization by approximately 1200 BCE. Civilizations ultimately developed on every continent except Antarctica. Agriculture, the basis of civilization. Agriculture was the only factor that allowed people to form long-lasting settlements. The development of farming and the enormous changes it caused have been referred to as a turning point in human history as the agricultural revolution. People living in tribes or family units did not need to be constantly moved in search of food or herding their animals after farming was invented in the Middle East around 6500 BC. When food production could be managed and a steady annual supply was guaranteed, people's lifestyles were drastically transformed. In fertile river valleys, people started establishing permanent settlements. They chose to reside close to rivers for a variety of reasons. Rivers were a significant source of clean drinking water. They might serve as a means of transportation. Additionally, people discovered how to irrigate the area for agriculture with water. Sedentary settlement, or being settled in one place, made it possible to domesticate animals in order to provide other sources of food and clothing. Development of civilization. Mesopotamia. Between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers is a region known as Mesopotamia, which derives from a Greek word meaning between rivers and is now a part of Iraq. Small farming groups had arrived in the river basins by 5000 BC. On the floodplains, they raised wheat, barley, and peas. To allow water to reach lower-lying land for their crops, they cut through the riverbanks. The Sumerians in Mesopotamia further refined these early irrigation systems. They drained marshes and dug canals, dikes, and ditches. Government and law were developed as a result of the requirement for cooperation on these significant irrigation projects. Thus, it is believed that the Sumerians created the first ancient civilization. Eridu, Nippur, Lagash, Kish, and Ur were among the towns and cities of Sumer. These cities were distinct from ancient farming villages. They were surrounded by large areas of land rather than being made up of family-owned farms. It was believed that a local god owned these lands. Farmers were divided into work teams by a priest to care for the field. The farmers provided the community with barley, beans, wheat, olives, grapes, and flax. Due to the fact that they were constructed around the temple of the regional deity, these early settlements, which existed by 3500 BC, were known as temple towns. The temples were finally constructed on ziggurat towers. The ziggurats had ramps or staircases winding up around the exterior. Public buildings and marketplaces were built around these shrines. Babylon. The Sumerians were conquered by their Semitic neighbors. But their civilization was carried on by their successors, the Akkadians, Babylonians, Assyrians, and Chaldeans. The civilizational advancement was significantly influenced by the Babylonians. They increased the comprehension of mathematics and astronomy. They constructed Babylon, the world's first major city. The Hammurabi Code was created by the Babylonian king Hammurabi in the late 18th century BC. This was the most complete compilation of Babylonian law and one of the first great law codes in the world. Ancient Egypt. By 5000 BC, Egyptian farmers had made their home in the Nile River's long and narrow valley. Within 2,000 years, the Egyptians developed writing and constructed extensive irrigation systems. They had developed a civilization that left the pyramids and other great structures as a legacy for future generations. The ancient Egyptians depended heavily on the Nile River. The river created an oasis in the surrounding desert, providing water for drinking and for farming. The river overflowed, rose, and fell every year. Due to the sediments that were left behind by the flooding, the riverside is now suitable for farming. Farmers were able to harvest a lot of grain from a single crop each year because of the fertile soil and the Nile's flooding, which was generally predicted. Eventually, the Egyptians could store large surpluses of grain to trade and to keep in reserve in case of crop failures. Surplus crops would form the chief basis of ancient Egypt's great wealth. The Nile was also society's most important transportation route. Ancient India. The Indus River Valley is regarded as the starting point of Indian civilization. The Indus Valley Civilization was located on the Indian subcontinent, primarily in what is now Pakistan, and was not found by archaeologists until 1924. The ancient history of this region is obscured by legend. However, it seems that by 400 BC, small-scale farmers were cultivating grains, vegetables, and animals next to rivers. By 2700 BC, two major cities, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, and numerous smaller towns had emerged. There is some evidence that Mesopotamian traders reached the early people of the Indus Valley by sailing there from Sumer. The Indus Valley people shared some developments such as complex irrigation and drainage systems and the art of writing with the people of Sumer. However, the people of the Indus Valley also developed a unique cultural style of their own. Fall of civilizations. Lost civilizations. Lost civilizations, entire ways of life that appeared to flourish before vanishing from historical records, are common in both history and tradition. One such mystery is the disappearance of the ancestral Puebloan civilization. In what is now known as the Four Corners region of the United States, which includes the states of Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona, ancient Puebloan civilization. External pressure. The clearest example of external pressure on a civilization is foreign invasion or sustained warfare. It can be very expensive and needs a powerful force to protect a civilization's borders, which puts other parts of a civilization's development or preservation at risk. External pressure can cause a civilization to perish quite suddenly. One such instance is the fall of the Aztec Empire following the arrival of European conquistadors. Environmental collapse. Some anthropologists believe that the demise of numerous civilizations was caused by both damage to the environment and natural disasters. Natural hazards such as drought, floods, and tsunamis become natural disasters as they impact civilizations. Drought was a factor in the fall of civilizations including the Maya, Indus Valley, and Harappan. Guys, that takes us to the end of this video. Thanks for being to the end of the video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and tell us what you think about this video below in the comments section.